Hey guys, what's up? It's Biscuit Horror Reviews. As you can see by the angle the camera is situated at, I bought a new tripod. So that's good. We're moving up. I also bought a new microphone, but as it turns out, the nearly $25 I spent on it is fucking useless because it's nowhere near as good as the microphone I currently use. So yeah, that was money wasted. Either way, today I'm here with a quick little review for you of a rather interesting movie I watched today. It's a American horror film from 1972 titled Love Me Deadly. Now, this is a movie that's been on my watch list for quite a while. Ever since I saw the trailer, I think it was featured in Mad Ron's Previews from Hell, which is essentially this kind of trailer compilation film that was on Netflix streaming for a very long time, and I've watched it multiple times, and it's always good for a laugh or good for background noise because it's just a bunch of zombies in a movie theater watching old exploitation trailers, and I'm pretty sure it was featured in that one. I might be wrong, but Love Me Deadly is about a woman who ends up in a love triangle with a businessman and the owner of a funeral home, which in turn makes it hard for her to deal with her necrophiliac urges because the businessman she's genuinely in love with and the owner and the mortician at the funeral home supplies her with corpses to fuck. On top of that, the funeral home is taken over by a satanic cult of necrophiliacs, and all of this happens to happen right after her father's death, which kind of scars her. And it's implied that her and her father had some kind of weird relationship going on. This movie isn't very good at all, honestly. It's nowhere near as graphic as it sounds. Like, there's definitely nudity. There's scenes with her kissing corpses. There's a scene of her literally riding a corpse. But there's nothing as explicit as, Necromantic is, which Necromantic came out, I want to say, about 15 years after this one. But this movie is decently acted. You know, I would never say anybody gives an awful performance, but there are bad performances in this movie, most definitely. The writing leaves a lot to be desired. It's not a very well written or thought out movie. For instance, there's a twist at the end of the movie, which I'm not going to spoil, but I don't know if I wasn't paying good enough attention or not, but the twist didn't make much sense. And if it's going for what I think it's going for, it doesn't make any fucking sense. The movie has an interesting kind of pacing because it starts with the funeral scene and then there's a montage over the credits of her and her father, and then the movie just kind of continues on, and then about 20 minutes in, after there's been a few scenes involving some necrophilia, she suddenly ends up dating the businessman. And there's I want to say 5 minute long montage of them just dating, to random music, and that's about it. And then you get back into the kind of horror elements, and then she suddenly gets married, and some other shit happens, and yeah. This movie is a bit of a mess, pacing-wise. Very similar to the 1982 film Midnight, which is directed by John Russo. That movie had some weird pacing, with that movie opening with the main character almost being sexually assaulted by her father, and then 5 minutes later, there is a goofy, fun montage set to an upbeat theme song of the main character shoplifting with these two guys she just met. It's bizarre, and the pacing in this movie is pretty fucking bizarre. The movie has a pretty good atmosphere during some of the scenes. There's some scenes in the mortuary involving the satanic cult, which are actually kind of cool little scenes in the movie. Uh, Really, the cult, as far as what you learn about this satanic cult, all you really see of them is they're naked people in black robes that kind of wander around the mortuary at night and have sex with corpses, and that's about it. There's a scene where a guy is embalmed while he's still alive by having formaldehyde pumped into him, and that's probably one of the best scenes in the whole movie. And that happens pretty early on in the movie as well. Uh, Shit, I don't know what else to say about this movie. It's got some good moments, definitely. The twist is kind of hilarious in how convoluted and ridiculous it is. It's not really that gory, which is kind of something I wanted it to be, was just have a bit of gore in it. Just a severed head here or there, maybe. Nothing too extreme, but sadly there wasn't much in the ways of gore. The atmosphere is fine in a few scenes, but isn't consistent enough to make the movie legit creepy. Mostly, I would say this movie is just very middle of the road, and I don't want to say necessarily boring, because it's not necessarily completely uninteresting, but there are more moments that I would attribute to that word than I would to words like entertaining, creepy, or interesting. I would say that this is a very good background noise kind of movie. Very similar to Madaron's Previews from Hell. This is a movie you put on the background while you are doing some writing, some research, you're working on some art or something. If you're doing something else in the meantime and you need some background noise, this is definitely something to put on. And, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there are other movies like that. For instance, Cannibal Terror is one that I think is a very good background noise movie. White Cannibal Queen. I can't think of many others off the top of my head. Maybe like Torture Dungeon from Andy Milligan. But either way, this movie's very middle of the road and pretty lackluster for the most part, and I don't think it's something I could really recommend. On the gore meter from 1 to 10, 1 being something like Nosferatu, 10 being something like Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, this movie is like a 2.5 maybe. Even though it's not extremely gory, there's a couple stabbings that happen in the movie, and then there's the scene where the guy gets embalmed alive, which is decently graphic. Which I do like the setup for that scene, with the guy with the mortician picking up this guy who is a male prostitute, under the assumption that he is a John, and then he fucking straps him down on a fucking slab in the mortuary and embalms him while he's still alive, and again, that scene's like one of the best in the whole movie. In the end, I don't think this is a very recommendable movie, and I don't think I'll ever watch it again, just because it's more uninteresting and boring than anything else. It's like I've already said, it's got a couple good scenes and a couple memorable moments, and the title is good, and the twist ending is ridiculous and kind of funny, but that doesn't justify sitting through the, hour and a half, 95-minute runtime this movie has, because there are other movies that are even shorter that are just as obscure as this, that deserve more attention and more love than this movie does. In the end, I'm gonna have to give this one like a 2 out of 5, maybe 1.5. This is the first review I've done in a while where I kind of watched the movie and I was like, this might make for an interesting review, and I started taking notes on it about halfway through, and then when I finished it, by the time I finished it, I was like, this isn't that good for a review, and then I, erased all my notes, and now here I am recording it without notes, because I decided, fuck it, it's not worth it. So here I am now trying to improv the whole fucking thing. Either way, guys, this is Biscuit Boo Horror Reviews, signing off. Peace.